You know that kid who was always called gifted, the smart one? Maybe that was you. You'd think that label would be a huge head start in life, but it turns out psychology shows it can actually create some really powerful, really unexpected challenges down the road.
Because, that's the whole assumption, isn't it? That if you're the smart kid, you've got a golden ticket. But for so many people who grew up with that label, adulthood feels surprisingly harder. And that's the paradox we're going to get into today.
And it really is a paradox. Something that starts out as this incredible gift, a natural ability to just get things, can slowly, without you even realizing it, turn into a limitation. It becomes this box that kind of defines how you see yourself and the world. So here's the thing. That smart kid label, it's not just a compliment people throw around. You internalize it. It gets deep in there and becomes a core piece of who you are. But here's the danger. When your entire identity is built on just one single trait, that foundation is incredibly fragile. So let's talk about how this happens. How does this fragile foundation actually get built? Well, it all goes back to how your sense of self-worth starts to form when you're young. And this is struggle number one. When you're constantly being praised for being smart, you learn a very specific lesson. Your value comes from performing that intelligence. Your identity and your ability to ace that test or solve that problem, they become the exact same thing.
Now, this creates a huge split in how you see yourself. A healthy, flexible sense of self says, I am valuable, period. Whether I succeed or fail today doesn't change that. But a conditional self, which is what so many former gifted kids end up with, it runs on totally different logic.
Psychologists have a term for this. It's called conditional self-worth. It's this deep-seated belief that your value isn't a given. It's not, I am valuable. It's, I am valuable if I get the best grade, if I solve the problem no one else can, if everyone can see how smart I am. And man, that sets you up for a whole lot of anxiety later on.
So what happens when this fragile, conditional identity goes out into the real world? Well, it starts to crack, because you learn really fast that just being smart isn't always going to be enough.
This brings us to the second major struggle, avoiding effort. For a lot of smart kids, school just came easily. So they learn this really dangerous lesson. If I actually have to try hard at this, it must mean I'm not really smart. So effort itself starts to feel like a sign of failure. And just think about that for a second. It's not just that struggling is hard or annoying. It's that it feels completely foreign and it's destabilizing. It shakes the very foundation of your identity as the smart one. It's like an earthquake under the only thing you thought was solid. And that fear of effort, it breeds our third struggle, this really intense perfectionism. But this isn't just about wanting to do a good job. It's driven by a deep, deep fear of being exposed. The fear that if you make just one mistake, everyone's gonna realize you are a fraud all along. And yep, that's the core of what we call imposter syndrome. You can almost see the chain reaction here, right? First, your identity gets welded to your performance. Because of that, having to try hard feels like a personal threat. That threat creates this growing fear of being found out. And so perfectionism isn't about being perfect, it's a defense mechanism. It's a shield to stop that from ever happening. So that leads us to struggle number 4. A full-on retreat into the one place where they feel totally safe, their own mind. Former gifted kids become absolute experts at thinking, at analyzing, at running through all the scenarios. But when it's time to actually do the thing, they hesitate. And there's a name for this, analysis paralysis. Thinking is comfortable. It's a safe refuge because, hey, you can't fail at thinking. But the adult world, it doesn't reward thinking nearly as much as it rewards doing. And the risk of actually taking action and maybe failing becomes incredibly intimidating. And finally, we have struggle number 5. In school, you might have been the smartest person in the room. It was your defining feature. But then you get to a competitive college or a new job, and you look around and suddenly everyone is smart. That one thing that made you feel exceptional is now just the baseline. And the result is this dramatic, gut-wrenching shift. Your own perception of yourself can just plummet from feeling exceptional to feeling average. And when your entire self-worth has been built on being exceptional, feeling average feels like an absolute failure. So what's the big takeaway here? Is it that being smart is bad? No, not at all. The goal is to understand its proper place and to rebuild your foundation of self-worth on something much, much more stable. And this quote just nails it,
Being smart is not the problem. The problem is when being smart is the only pillar holding you up. Think about it. A healthy sense of self has lots of pillars, right? It's supported by being a good friend, or being creative, or being kind, or just being resilient and not giving up.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Whether you were that gifted child or you know someone who was, which one of these 5 struggles really hits home for you? Tying your identity to performance, the fear of effort, perfectionism, getting stuck in analysis paralysis, or that tough adjustment to competition? Because just understanding the root of these challenges, that's the first real step toward building a stronger foundation.